Babe Didrikson is in Bite Size History. So,
okay. Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody to the chat again, and I'd like to welcome Jamie Lewis. How you doing, Jamie?
Hey, guys. Yo, what's up?
These weeks seem to roll around all so quickly. I mean, it always feels like it's just yesterday since I've talked to you. But how's the content grind going?
Yo, it continues. I don't miss a day ever. Never, ever. No, today I posted about a guy who you will recognize. Did you see what I posted today?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, the Running Man guy.
Yeah, I had no idea that guy was anybody. I just thought he was like some guy with a mustache, but turns out he was a fucking great power lifter and a really good guy.
What was his name again?
I don't. Good Lord.
Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
Yeah, that's a great question. What his name was? Shit, it was something weird.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I prepped for this and just pushed all that shit out of my brain. Gus Rethwich. So he was in Running Man. He was Buzzsaw. He was in Twins. He was also he was with The Rock and Scorpion King. But yeah. But I think the most fun thing, like I kept going down rabbit holes on that guy because he had this awesome meet that was considered to be like the greatest meet of all time for powerlifting. It was in 1984. It was a Hawaii meet. Ted Arcidi benched 666 or 667. It was 666. 666.9. And there was a lightweight bodybuilder woman whose name was Lori Okami, and this woman was jacked. She won her class in 1986 in bodybuilding in the lightweight class. At 105, she benched 187 in this meet, and it apparently everybody was really well taken care of, and it was in Hawaii. And it was apparently the best meet anybody's ever been to, and he was the guy who put it on. So.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's amazing how much there's crossover and intersection between all these really big names that we talk about. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is the historical significance today of Santa Monica's Muscle House by the beach, or Muscle House by the sea. You've kind of alluded
Muscle House by the sea, I think.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. It's the Muscle House is what everybody called it.
Yeah, you talked about this a couple of times in the past episodes, but we're going to chisel down on that this morning and kind of spring from a few topics from there. But what was the Muscle House by the sea, and why was it significant?
So the Muscle House by the Sea was it was a house owned by this woman named Joy Flores, and she apparently just walked. Yo, look at my man VT coming out strong with it.
Man.
Yo, that's awesome. Nice as hell.
Thanks,
you, dude.
Man. I'll send that through to Jamie.
Yo, that's it. Good looking out. That was really, really nice of you.
Thank you very much, man. That just makes our day. I mean, we love the questions in the comments. Sorry to interrupt you, Jamie, but when somebody sends through a donation like that, just a contribution, it just really, makes our spirits come alive, I guess, because, we don't earn a lot from doing this, and, every cent kind of counts. So it's great. Thank you very much again, BT.
Yeah, it's really, really sweet of you to do that, and I really appreciate it. We both do. And so where was? So Joy, so I didn't know the entire story. I saw a video today that kind of shed some light on it. She walked up to George Eiferman, and I think it was George Eiferman, right? George Eiferman and Steve Reeves on the beach, and they didn't have a place to stay. And she was like, she's this buff old lady. She was like, what in her what? How old was she? Like in her, I don't know. She was in the 60s. She was in her 70s. So this was in her 40s, like mid 40s. She's this buff middle-aged woman. At this time, there's no middle-aged women who really live alone. She lived alone at the beach. She walks up in a bathing suit to these two buff dudes, and she's like, yo, do you guys want to come live in my house? It's $1 a day, and you just pay once a week, and like it's free linen, like clean linens and all that shit. And she cooked for these guys. She was a vegetarian, and she was really, really strict about vegetarianism. So like, the original West Side, the Bill West from West Side Barbell, he lived there for a while alongside of Steve Reeves. And so his nickname was Peanuts. And the reason was he wasn't allowed to put meat in the refrigerator, even though sometimes it would like sneak meat into the refrigerator. And So like he would just eat peanuts all day long, and they would chug milk. There's a picture of her handing Jack LaLanne, I think it was, a big bottle of milk, and like there was a whole huge refrigerator, like a huge refrigerator filled with milk. So yeah, they were kind of doing a lacto ovo vegetarian diet, and then at night they would go to this place called Rand's Roundup, and it was a smorgasbord, which was a Swedish thing. Do you guys have all you can eat buffets in Australia? And do you call them smorgasbord?
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Oh, okay, cool. We don't call them that anymore. It's kind of an old timey term. But all you can eat buffets, this came from Sweden. And yes, so back in the day, this is how all the guys got their meat. And they would all, Shannon Stipes said that her dad, Chuck Stipes, like every time he would go anywhere for the rest of his life, he ordered prime rib everywhere he went. And when I was growing up, that's what you fucking ordered. Like if you were a man, you ordered prime rib at a restaurant. Like that's man food. And so they would go there, and it was all you could eat prime ribs. So they would just eat fucking tons of prime rib at night, and then go back to the Muscle House.
Yeah, it's funny about the all-you-can-eat smorgasbords, because when I lived in Japan, the Japanese word for smorgasbord was Viking.
Oh,
Obviously
that's
being
fun.
Viking,
Yeah.
an allusion to all-you-can-eat.
Yeah.
But yeah. What was interesting was she initially had planned for that house to be only for single women, but when she met Steve Reeves, that's when she decided to quote unquote make an exception. So I don't suppose
that's cool.
But yeah.
Did Pudgy live there too then?
I lived in Japan for 3 years, yeah.
No, Pudgy. Oh, Pudgy Stockton must have originally lived there, and that's how she met Les Stockton. Oh,
no.
shit. Yeah. You lived in Japan, you said?
Yeah, for 3 years, yeah.
Holy
cow. Guys.
Yo, what
Man.
is up? Yo, thank you so much.
You guys are fantastic. Milk fan. Holy cow.
That's fucking amazing. Yo, I'm going to start crying in a second.
Yeah, I know. Like, yeah, legit. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, seriously, thank you.
Well, yeah. But I knew that she was really strict about enforcing like the healthy lifestyle shit. Like you said, there was no meat, no junk food, no cursing inside. But you said that it was potentially a house of ill repute, or was that the case?
Well, so I drew some conclusions which may have been incorrect, but it seemed like because I think a lot of the guys that Bob Miser was using for gay for pay, like trap, like he was using them as honey traps. I think they were living in that place, and so I think I drew the conclusion that she was also like, oh, it's an older woman with a bunch of guys that she was feeding vegetarian diet, so their cum tastes good. Like this is where my brain was going with it, because I was like, what the hell is happening here? I thought she was a madam, but I was off. She still might have been a madam, because people were doing a lot of speed in the 40s. A lot of speed.
Yeah, and that's it. Everything was pretense back then. It was the front that you had to put on. But yeah, she apparently disliked the sinful womanizing of the male residents, which...
And yet she was very scandalously dressed in every... Well, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of pictures of her, but the pictures I have seen, she's in a bikini, like a bathing suit. So
yeah, correct. And this is a picture of the Muscle House by the Sea as it was in the 90s, or sorry, 2000s. And here is just a small picture of it back in its heyday.
It apparently was. She didn't own the entire building, though. Yeah, she was a hot older woman, and that's Jack LaLanne's big ass arm in that picture. Like Jack LaLanne used to be fucking legit jacked, but yo, she's hot as shit. I think she was in her. That's 1961. She's 70 there or some shit.
Yeah, I know.
1897, I think.
And you don't dress around,
dude. Yo, that lady. She was. If she wasn't fucking those dudes, she was fucking up. Like we need books or a movie about this lady. Yo, what's up? Look at you guys. Thank you, guys.
You're making our day here. Seriously. Like, fantastic.
This is amazing.
Thanks so much, Richard.
Yeah, thank you for the donations. This is amazing. Yeah, but like we need a movie about this lady, right?
Oh, yeah, because even look at her again here. She's dressed very scantily. You got Steve Reeves looking dapper there on the stairs.
My cats are fighting behind me. It scared the shit out of me. Jesus Christ. Go ahead.
Anyway, so what was historically significant that spawned from that house eventually? Because, you know, it was situated by the beach, and I think two very large kind of developments happened from there in terms of all the bodybuilders congregating in that house, or the lifters from that house. Because you had Steve Reeves, George Efferman, Dave Draper, Jack Dillinger, Bill West, as you said. But
Mhm.
what do you think kind of proliferated from that house afterwards?
Well, George Eiferman was the guy who selected all the people from Mae West's review, and Mae West's review was Mae West was this. She was basically the Lady Gaga of her day, and she had this retinue of bodybuilders who would go with her everywhere as her bodyguard. And there's somebody who's doing that now, and I called it out, and then I don't remember who it is, but there's somebody now is doing the same thing. In any event, so she popularized bodybuilders because she had them like she was doing this review all over the country, and it was really famous because she was like Lady Gaga of the time, and she had all these jacked ass dudes. Like I don't like off the top of my head, I'm not coming up with names, but because I wasn't thinking we were going to be talking about Mae West review, but George Eiferman selected all these guys, and I was always surprised Eric Peterson didn't become one of them, and he went and became a mob leg breaker and a wrestler instead. It was like, why the fuck wouldn't he have done it? Like, there were dudes who refused to dye their hair for the job, and that's why they didn't work for her. But that was the best you could get as a job for like a bodybuilder. Like, you could not get a job like this now as a bodybuilder. They were getting paid every week like big money, and just to flex and look good, and to not fuck too many of the dancing girls. Like, that was the rule, and then they would still fuck that up.
Did Muscle Beach eventually spawn from the congregation of those guys all being in the one place, or was Muscle Beach an already established thing before the house?
I'm not 100% on how on the beginnings of Muscle Beach. It didn't spawn out of that house. It was kind of like people. It was like a loose conglomeration of people who just like kind of started a workout thing on the beach and then grew into something bigger, if memory serves. But I could be just talking out of my ass there.
Yeah,
like no, it was just a group club. That's how every fucking weightlifting group started. People were just like, all right, here's a place we're gonna set down some benches and or whatever, and like fucking lift some weights and do some acrobatic shit, and that's how it started.
yeah. And speaking of clubs, wasn't Bill West then responsible for going on to make the Culver City West Side Barbell Club from there?
Yeah, yep, and
Yeah.
yeah. So he learned the box squat from Alan Davis in, I would assume, in the Muscle House by the Sea, because that's everybody would come through there, and like I said, it was a dollar a day for like to stay on a. It was a mattress on the floor, and it was two people to a room. It was not air conditioned. Like when you're thinking of whatever you're thinking of, it's very different than what you're thinking of. People lived very differently. Even like when I was thinking about my own life, and somebody an old school bodybuilder said to me today, like, don't you miss the 1980s? And I was like, no. I remember bathrooms in the 1980s. I don't ever want to go back there. Fuck the 1980s. Oh my God. But yeah, and even going back to beyond that, fuck all that. So yeah, it was a rough, stinky time, but they enjoyed it. Like, they weren't working. So all they did was like work out and then like do a bunch of fucking acrobatics on the beach. And then like they'd come home sweaty as fuck and have this like hot old lady dote on them. It's a pretty dope life. Like, it doesn't get much better.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting in terms of the, you know, because she was a bit, like you said, a bit of a health food nut. She didn't allow meat in the house. And we kind of wanted to use that as a bit of a springboard to talk about more golden era, early 1950s to 1980s nutrition. And
Yeah,
it was, I don't know if you got a chance to see that video that I sent you, but it went kind of quite
I did.
viral this week. And it was a video of Dr. Mike Isotail and Eric Helms. And they were talking about the recent scientific studies that were conducted, basically showing that bulking and excessive surpluses was a waste of time and led to kind of more fat gain than it did muscle gain. And they were saying that a 200 to 400 calorie surplus is a more reasonable target. Now, when you're considering the history of bodybuilding, when the whole ethos back then was eat big to lift more and to get big, what's your thoughts on what, you know, their findings and what they were talking about in that video?
That this is again where I keep trying. Listen, buy the book that I wrote, Bite Size History, because you need to start understanding the context behind what this stuff was. When these people were talking about the GOMAD diet and bulking and putting on weight, they weren't saying for you and me, people who have had been in the lap of luxury our entire lives, have never ever gone hungry. These are guys like Steve Reeves and those guys lived through World War I, World War II, and the Great Depression back to back to back. And before World War I, there were like all these economic downturns and shit. So these kids went hungry, like days without eating, and they drank shitty water. And when they finally like had access to more food and like mechanization and refrigeration allowed for like more food to get into your belly, they were like, fucking eat. Like, we have the opportunity to not be scrawny anymore. Because for World War I and World War II, they rejected like at least 40% of the people for being underweight. I mean, it was a crazy amount of people. So this was a problem because people didn't have food. They would come from the farm and be in the army and be like, oh my God, this is the greatest shit in the world. They're feeding us as much as we can eat. They didn't care they were getting shot because they could finally eat as much as they wanted. And that's why guys like Steve Davis, you know, they're coming and they get into so Steve Davis was this guy who started out skinny. Then, yeah, there you go. And then he was in the Navy and he decided he wanted to get big and start lifting. So he would just eat huge trays of food. Isn't it Steve Davis, or am I thinking of Bruce Randall? I'm thinking of Bruce Randall.
Bruce Randall? That's this guy here?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So he started eating in the Navy. He started just filling his tray with as much like chicken and rice as he could. It was fried rice and like some kind of chicken dish. And he would just eat as much as he possibly could and just stuff it in and stuff it in and stuff it in. And he kept lifting more and more and more. And he ended up like a huge, strong man, but he was also very fat. And there was actually a story. He was so strong that there was a time when he needed a bench in a place in the gym where there wasn't one. So he picked it up and he moved it across the gym, and everybody's staring at him like, what the fuck? And he turned around and he was like, what is everybody's problem? And they were like, that bench was bolted to the floor. Like, you just tore it out of the ground and you didn't even notice it was bolted to the floor. And he was like, oh, well, shitty bolts or whatever. You know what I mean? But yeah, so people got massively strong, and that's why they were like, eat. And like, but the GOMAD diet, as I've said before, was known even then to be just to make people fat. So people were still trying to figure out what would get them lean, what would get them fat, what they were to eat. And the conception of nutrition as we think of it now didn't even exist until the 1970s when it started. And that doesn't mean that it was what it is now. Like in the 1990s is when they started putting like nutrition information on stuff. So like when I keep saying like shit changed on the internet, I mean shit changed completely when the internet hit. And so it's very, very different.
Yeah, because I know that when I started out in the early 90s, we definitely didn't have any nutritional information on our food. We couldn't weigh it. You had to rely on a little calorie counter book if you wanted to even get some kind of handle on what amount of food you were eating. But I'll just kind of flick back to the 1950s because I was reading that Blair.
It was literally the palm of your hand. The palm of your hand. It was a 4-ounce piece of meat or a deck of cards. And so you would just be like, all right, I need a 4-ounce piece of meat. And then like your fist size carbohydrate, your fist size vegetable or whatever. So they were much easier metrics. And like I said the last time, our chicken breasts are so much bigger now that we're eating double. When we eat the same, what we think is the same serving size, we're eating double what they were eating, or triple. Correct. And our food is way more like nutritionally dense. So we're eating more calories and like more fats. And it's impossible to even compare their diets to our diets, except to say, imagine yourself eating very, very little all day, like vegetarian style, and going out on the beach and exercising from the time the sun is up until the time that you are ready to go back, shower, and go to this all-you-can-eat place to go get drunk and eat as much prime rib as you could possibly eat. And this is how they ate. It was not intermittent fasting, because that shit will literally break your heart, and it's proven in science. So it will rip your heart into half. Don't do that shit. Just I'm talking about, you don't have to eat so fucking much. And that's something that I'm still like figuring out. It was really scary at first to like reduce. Have you reduced your food intake to see how little you need?
Out of economic necessity, I guess. But yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
these it still fluctuates. I kind of do unintentional calorie cycling. So on the weekends, I'll eat more. And then during the week, just because of necessity, because I'm working, I won't eat as much.
Yeah, there you go. And, you know, less money at the end of the week. You don't eat on Friday, or, you know, you eat a bowl of rice on Friday. I've had a lot of that. And I thought I'd lost all this weight, right? And so I weighed myself and I was 192. And I was like, okay. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
know,
have to
amazing.
eat. I don't have to eat. And that's the thing that for everybody that is out there who's been lifting for a couple of years and you think you're still a beginner. You're not. Like a couple of months, you're done with being a beginner. And if you've been lifting for a couple of years, by the standards of old time lifters, if you've been lifting hard for a couple of years, you don't need to lift anymore. You can go do other shit because you already built the muscle. You don't need to like go and keep going. And it's actually like I can tell you this. I was rowing my boat as hard as I possibly could to get very, very minimal gains. And then I realized I might as well just make it look better.
Let's circle to this question quickly, because you mentioned IF being not so good, and you said that it would literally rip your heart in two. Now, given the context, there was some research recently done on it. I'm not up to speed on that research fully, but can you fill us into a little bit about why you don't think in fasting is good?
I don't have it memorized. I just remember like the study came out like a year ago, and it was like, it increases your risk for heart attack and arteriosclerosis. Like,
why do you think that is though?
Very significantly. I don't fucking
Why, just
know,
by
man.
not eating? Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense to me. And I would have to kind of like throw up the question, if it doesn't make any sense, just by not eating, it increases your risk of heart disease. I don't know. I'd have question marks against that, because I don't know.
I think that people stressing out about their diets will give you a fucking heart attack.
But that's almost the opposite. You're almost like not stressing about your diet because you're having a planned period.
Have you ever met a person who does intermittent fasting? They couldn't shut up about the fucking bulletproof coffee and the fucking timing when, I gotta stop eating now, I gotta start eating now. And it's like, God almighty, like your body doesn't have a fucking clock in it. And how the fuck do you think the cavemen survived? And how were they so jacked? They were out there stabbing mammoths, but they couldn't just eat a bunch of meat one day and then go 5 days without eating meat, and then stab another mammoth and eat a bunch of meat that day and not eat a bunch of meat for another 5 days. Like, that's how people eat.
Yeah, 100%. But there's that word, isn't autophagy good for you? That's when you're not eating and you're getting like cell regeneration. So I don't think like how most people intermittent fast induces the level of autophagy that they think it does. Autophagy happens after maybe like 3 or 4 days of fasting. If I'm wrong, you can correct me in the comments, but it's much longer than say 16 hours. That's for certain.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about long-term fasting. There's a phenomenal book called Hunger by Sharman Apt Russell, and it went into a bunch of the different physiological changes that happen in response to hunger, different people who went through prolonged periods of hunger. I have eaten very little for 3 days. I've never gone without eating for more than, I don't know, a day and a half, maybe. Excuse me. Well, not without ending up in the hospital. There was the one time that I tried meth. I ended up with an extremely low blood sugar and ended up in the hospital. But I can't really speak to fasting beyond that.
Yeah, like Black Betty says here, you want 11 days of water only. I couldn't even conceive of even doing anything like that. That would drive me nuts. I did 3 days at the beginning of the week at 1,000 calories, and I gotta
know what this person looks like. They're a gymnast, and they like what? I'm just fascinated by this person. Like you. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just getting back to the science of nutrition, because you were saying it kind of ramped up in the 70s and 80s. I think the two early progenitors or people that were ahead of their time was obviously Rio Blair and Vince Gironda. And I was
I've really come to find it, because that's all bullshit. That's all D-ball. It's just D-ball and speed.
Well, Gironda was against any drugs. I think Blair was kind of much the same.
But that's
initially.
fucking horseshit because Rio Blair was fucking giving D-ball to everybody in his gym. So
Eventually. But like his recommended bulking diet for guys that were, trying to increase their weight was a liter of cream mixed with 3 cups of his protein, 1 kilogram of meat, and 3 dozen eggs. And Gironda was basically on the same page, but he later switched the cream to raw milk to eliminate the carbs. But that's quite.
I have all of his recipes in 365 actually. So if you guys don't have them and you want legit old school bulking, like milkshake Johns, these things will put some fucking meat on your bones, and they taste good because heavy cream always tastes good. Heavy cream and sugar, you can't fuck it up.
But even that's around about 5,000 to 6,000 calories, and they were also the first to, I think, kind of advocate doing space feedings. So because before it was just kind of like 1 or 2 meals a day. Like you said, they trained all day on the beach. They ate practically next to nothing. Then they came home and smashed the food. But did you ever try any of the McCallum or the Randall Strawson, or you can drink all you can with the much milk as possible, or get big shakes, etc.?
I don't like milk very much. And eggs really fuck up my stomach. So I don't like the taste or the smell of them. So I in jail, I drank a lot of milk, but that was just because I needed the protein. Other than that, I don't drink it at all. So,
there was another real interesting protein powder that came out in the early 60s from Dave Draper. It was called the Mr. America protein. Dave Draper said it tasted like dirt, it mixed like dirt, and basically it sold like dirt because it was a mixture of liver, brain, kidneys, thymus, spleen, and milk caseinate.
This is all, it's the entire supplement industry. And I mean, the entire supplement industry is a lie. And I am ashamed to have participated in it. I genuinely thought I was like doing the right thing because I had bought into the whole shit. Like I bought into the fact we need protein powder, we need this, we need that. It was so fucking dumb. And the reason why I needed protein powder was when I was in college was because all I was eating was fucking turkey sandwiches because I was afraid to eat fat. Like the whole thing was so dumb. If I had just eaten like a human being my whole life, I never would have needed any fucking supplements. But
that's it.
Yeah,
I don't touch shit these days. I don't touch any supplements or any protein powders. I think protein powders is probably the worst thing out there for bodybuilders. It's just
I don't know if that's the case. I just they're not necessary at all. And vitamins don't help. Period. There is no but if. It is literally the end of vitamins do nothing to change your body at all. They're ineffective. And I mean, the air is more beneficial to you than buying vitamins and consuming them.
Yeah. I think your Apex Predator diet where you advocated like drinking 4 or 5 shakes at the beginning and then having a meal at night, or if you're doing like a protein spare modified fast, protein shakes are pretty good then. But do you still recommend your Apex Predator diet where you were just drinking protein shakes and having a solid meal at night?
No. I mean, it's not going to hurt. It worked. I've done it, so it worked. Yeah. And I did it for 10 years. So
yeah, I did it for the longest time as well.
Yeah, and it was a fun way to eat, honestly, because you're just eating like a caveman, and just constantly wings and ribs. Like that's a great way to eat. But it was just I was eating way too much. I didn't. It's a ridiculous way to eat. You don't need to eat like that, and it's just so much simpler than we've been led to believe. And all you need to do is just look at all of these people who have lived before us, before diets, who were ripped, and they were just fucking jacked and ripped, and like they didn't have refrigerators and all that. That's why I keep focusing on these old school guys, and that's why I focus on the natty guys, because I just let's strip away all the gimmicks, all the bullshit, all the let's get to the guys who there's nothing we can say, well, what about? No, there's no what about. This is the thing, and I'm trying to drill down to the essence. So, yep,
yeah,
oysters.
Let's do some of these questions. So we'll look at the oysters one first. Regarding oysters, sea snot. Some say to limit the consumption due to heavy metals. Some say it's okay because it's stored in the shell.
And Vince Gironda's definition diet is steak and eggs. You're going to get lean from that. Keto dieting fucking works. But it's just unnecessary. But it is fun if you've been low fat dieting for a long time, which is why I started with it, because I was fucking crazy from low fat dieting, and I was dying for breakfast sausage. Like I was laying in bed dreaming about breakfast sausage and drooling. And so that's why I started keto dieting for real. But yeah, oysters, that is the thing. That's how everybody got ripped and jacked back in the day. It's fucking magic if you can tolerate them. And I don't know about I can't speak to the heavy metals because I don't deal in I don't deal in seafood. I really don't like it. So I hate the smell of it. Oh God, I hate it.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about the heavy metals myself, but yeah, being in the shell, it seems like they'd almost be protected because usually they say with the heavy metals ingestion of the fish, the bigger the fish, the more the heavy metals. So you go for the smaller ones like sardines, but I think oysters should be okay in regards to that. Getting back to Gironda, though, you can really see he was ahead of his time in terms of his definition.
He really wasn't though. I can show you guys
look at him, man.
who he looks great, but he wasn't ahead of his time. And he didn't. The people who looked as good as him didn't have to diet as hard. Like Zabo. Zabo was fucking high all the time, and he was just as fucking ripped.
This guy here was another one on the same page that was before Gironda as well, Ultra Law. So he was.
Oh yeah.
He was big into manipulating carbohydrates, taking them down low as well. He was one of the first ones to do that.
He is the very first bodybuilding champion. Put him back. Put him back. That's the guy in 1904 who won the bodybuilding competition and won the equivalent of $300,000. That's the fucking guy, and that's the best body in the world that year. And dude, that thing caused a riot because people were trying to get in from the outside. They sold out Madison Square Garden, which is a huge venue at the time, and it was that popular. And then conservatives shut it down the next year because they couldn't have all of that.
Particularly if you look at the picture on the right of him doing the front double bicep. Guys would look at that today and say, definitely using drugs. But that's still amazing for that time with the resources that they had, the knowledge that they had, that he could still obtain something like that.
It's because of the posing. Muscle control was a huge thing back then. And man, it annoys the shit out of my wife, I'm sure. But anytime I'm sitting down, I'm like posing all the time because I realize not like doing bodybuilding pose. It's just like holding like a position that I wouldn't hold normally, like this, because everybody's pecs are all fucked up and spread way apart. And I keep talking about it. And you have to cross your arms in order to get that. It's really uncomfortable, but any position that is uncomfortable is a position you need to be getting into.
So do you think we just scrap the diets and just concentrate on caloric restriction and a lot of training for weight loss and a lot of training for weight loss? Hey, we're back to the 1950s again with that statement.
Yeah, it is really just as easy as eat a reasonably sized small breakfast, something that'll get you going. That you got to have protein in it, you got to have some carbs, you got to have some fats. Get yourself going. Make sure it tastes good. Have a good lunch. But these don't have to be huge meals. They're small to medium sized meals. Then have your big meal in the evening if you want, or you can put your big meal whenever the fuck you want. But the point is, just stop eating so fucking much, and you realize, oh my God, like you'll start to feel smaller, and it'll terrify the shit out of you. And everybody around you will say, no, you look as big as you did, but you do look like you lost weight. I don't fucking get it. And then women will tell you you look skinny, and you'll lose your fucking mind. Your brain falls out. You turn pale. You want to cry. You're like, well, fuck it. I'm going to kill myself now because I lost all my gains. No, they're saying you look good. That is girl speak for you look hot.
Yeah,
is
particularly
when they tell you look skinny.
Yeah, because girls are mainly looking from the hip, from the neck up. So when they see that your face is looking leaner, that's a compliment. But basically, getting back just to the cutting methods of the time, especially how
I'm really an ISO. I'm an isocaloric diet. And remember that it's not a game that you play every day where you're trying to game your macros. This isn't a day-to-day thing. Think about it more as a week-long thing, because back in the day, people really only ate meat on feast days. Like if we're going back 150 years or 200 years, only on feast days is when they were eating their meat. And that was like, there were maybe 300 of them a year in certain Catholic countries, but not all countries. So you're eating meat like not on every day, and certainly not a lot of meat on every day. It was just the feast days when you'd eat tons of meat. So you can eat a big of, like say you go to some fucking all you can eat Brazilian place and you eat 8 pounds of meat. Your body digests that fucking slowly. It doesn't rot in your gut like people say because they're fucking idiots. your body digests it slowly because that is how animals eat in the wild. Like any other animal other than us gets away with eating once every 3 days. We got to eat every 3 hours. That's psychotic. Like, it's just crazy to think about. But I was obsessed with the idea for the longest time. So
one of the biggest,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I was just going to say one of the biggest aha moments of my early training career is basically doing away with the 6 to 7 times of eating per day and just settling around 2 to 3, because I found it made no difference at the end of the day. So
yeah,
I think, it was just bullshit. That was, they basically pumped up the space feedings at the time that supplement sales coincided so that they could sell more protein powder, basically.
So hit that last one from Iron History.
Jamie, what about the munchies?
So here's how I do it. I don't, I eat pretty lean during the day. It's not necessarily like because I'm high a lot. I made like 2.5 pounds of ground beef with a can of beans as taco meat, and I've basically just been eating tacos nonstop for the last couple of days. But so I'll eat that, and then like at night we'll have a Klondike bar, and we'll make some like popcorn for the munchies. It usually doesn't go beyond that, and like if you split a bowl of popcorn, it's really not like the caloric impact isn't all that big, especially, and if you haven't been eating like shit all day long, it's not that big a deal. For a while, I was real big in eating. Like, I hadn't eaten candy my entire life, and for a while, I was like, "Oh, eat some candy. Doesn't fucking matter anyway." And yeah, nothing untoward happened. So.
Yeah, and just on the point of nutrition, if you're wanting a couple of good books, the book now that I live by is the Feast, Famine, and Ferocity diet, where it incorporates small kind of like mini cuts of caloric restriction for 2 weeks, and then you have 4 weeks of all-out eating and enjoyment. But I think that's the best way to put on muscle and keep your body in that really lean state constantly without any effort. So Jamie's
that's the thing. So when you see these pictures of old school bodybuilders, up to probably, I don't know, 1975-ish, I think is when Harold Poole was like, these motherfuckers are all dieting. It's horseshit. But like until then, when you see them on a contest on stage, that's how they look every fucking day for months, every day. And when you see them lifting, that's how they're lifting on that day, but that's how they lift all the time. Nobody ever peaked for shit. This stuff is embarrassing what people are doing now. Like, they're getting so specialized and then specializing in their specialization, and it's like, and you're not even as good as most of the people in the past. So just like, yeah, we need to stop getting so intense about the wrong details.
Yeah, growing into the show, Don Howarth, Bob Gager, like even if you look at Arnold, Frank Zane, Franco Colombo, etc., they are all growing into the show and peaking and losing body fat at the same time. Not doing it ass backwards where they put on 100 pounds and then had to, cut off 80 of them just to be in some kind of contest condition. And again, I keep going back to Vince Gironda, but he was one of the first to never deviate really too much from that contest level conditioning, because you did have the guys, some of them like Bruce Randall, Steve Davis, a few of the others bulking up excessively. Even Casey Viator, like I'll read you out his.
The reason why we know Steve Davis and Bruce Randall is because they were the only two where there was like, look at this fat shit, but actually got himself into shape. But it was literally like, look at this fat shit that got himself in shape. You too could become Mr. America if you decided to fucking turn it around. There was one other guy, Ken Passariello, who went from like a 240-pound, 5'3" or 5'4", but he was like a science teacher or something, and then trained his ass off for 3 years and became Mr. America. Like, he was a fat little shit who had never exercised and trained like a maniac for 3 years and became Mr. America. And then like trained, like he did some other shit too, but maybe it wasn't Mr. America, won his class, some other shit, but like, it was still like, those were the people where they were like, it could fucking happen. You two could do it. But it wasn't like you two should do it, but people have gotten the message all fucked up again.
So why do you think the powerlifters for quite a few decades there really bulked up beyond what was even healthy or aesthetic or even looked good? Pulled it more into line these days, I think.
Yeah. So Sig Klein back in the day, he was like the kind of first celebrity gym owner kind of guy. He was Attila's Professor Attila's son-in-law, and he bought his gym, and like he became the celebrity trainer. He was a really popular vaudevillian performer and stuff. But he said, train for form and strength will follow. And literally every person followed that up until there were two people who really like got in the news and like fucked up the rotational, like just like Bruce Randall and Steve Davis. And it was Roger, I think Roger Estep was one of them. And the other one, because he was a power lifter, but he really didn't train for bodybuilding much. And the real bad one was Bill Marsh. He was the guy who sold everybody isometrics, even though they didn't work. And he sold them. Isometrics do work, but not the way he said. But he said that isometrics and Olympic weightlifting built all this muscle and turned him into a bodybuilder who didn't really win shit. He was just the best he was the most bodybuilder-y weightlifter. They had contests for that, and he would win those. But he couldn't win at either weightlifting or bodybuilding, and he was an all D-ball. And but he sold people. Again, the industry used him to sell isometrics and weight racks so they could do isometrics. They used him as the salesperson, just like Casey Viator was used to sell Nautilus shit. So Steve Davis did get ripped as fuck.
Interesting enough about Viator, his diet for gaining weight was 1 kilogram of peanut butter, 1 jar of grape jelly, 3 to 4 bananas, 2 dozen eggs, and 2 gallons of milk daily.
They didn't have money for all that shit. Like Pete Gronkowski was living under a bridge, eating day-old hamburgers from McDonald's, and that's how he won Mr. America. Like, it's not as hard as we've been fucking making it out to be. And these people were not genetic freaks. I am still working on another cookbook. Oh, and thank you for the donation. I really appreciate it. I'm going to do it with Greta. It's just, I can only do so much at a time. And this content grind is crushing me. So, but I'm starting, we actually, like, I love you guys. And this week, this was another positive week. And we've had a positive bank balance 3 weeks in a row. Which is
your Instagram is blowing up every week, and I check it. It's like another 1,000. So it's definitely steamrolling, and people are starting to take notice, which is great. So definitely go over and support Jamie, get his books, and subscribe to his daily Instagram. What's the thing
I
you
really appreciate all you guys.
What's the thing you like most about content production? Because you do this full time, whereas I can only dream. My content production slowed right down now because of the job. But what do you like most about it?
Dude, I love research, and I love that I'm like figuring out how to get paid to do research, because when I am showing you guys a person that I find, it's because I'm like, oh my God, look at what I found. And then I'm like, I need to print it up and show it like as well as I possibly can, so you guys see how fucking cool this thing is. And it's become an obsession to figure out how to teach people the things that I think are important in a way that they'll be dying to learn it. Like, not to want to learn it. I don't want a receptive audience. I want an audience that like can't fucking wait to be like, oh, what cool shit am I going to learn today? And like, that's what that's what I'm striving for.
What I always love about your content as well is you always seem to unearth and dig up these really cool pictures of guys that I've never seen before. And you sprinkle in maybe like 1 or 2 facts. As much as I've kind of read and researched and know about the guys, you always manage to find out just 1 or 2 little factoids. And another cool thing I'll say about your Instagram as well is the comment section, because there are some fucking gold that people contribute into that comment section.
Yeah, they really do.
Page so unique and head and shoulders above any of the other history pages. Like, I don't care what people fucking say. Numbers don't mean shit at the end of the day, but yeah, yours is truly gold. So,
yo, I know numbers don't, like, my numbers don't look that big at 16.4, but I was at 8,000 on January 1st.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
So I'm starting to figure out, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to work Instagram. I don't use Instagram the same way other people do, and I don't follow any lifting related shit. And like, I don't want to sound like one of those metal nerds, but like, other people don't post interesting stuff as a general rule. So I have no interest in following a lifter who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, like who just accidentally got big. And oh my God, this guy who workout bombs people, I mentioned him to you earlier. Have you seen these videos?
I haven't seen him, no.
Maybe anybody in the comments, have you seen this? He's a really dark-skinned dude. His name is like something Lion, and he will go and like, so it'll just be people working out. Like a guy will be deadlifting, and he's deadlifting some weight, I don't know, like 500 pounds, and he'll just walk up and start repping it. Like in the middle of this guy will just turn around for a second, not taking a long time, but he'll just start repping it, and then he'll turn around and be like, "What the fuck is your problem?" And then the guy will add more weight, and he'll do the stuff again, and it's like, but sometimes he does these really like weird and aggressive, like he'll do aggressive calisthenics. This guy knows what I'm talking about. He does these aggressive calisthenics where he's doing like, so those Superman push-ups where you like fly in the air, you know, you jump up in the air. So he'll do them and then like jump in front of people and scare the shit out of women who are just like stretching or whatever, and then like jump onto the pull-up bar and like get in the way of people working out, and it's like doing all this weird shit. And it's like, just what, you're in the way of everybody. You're making an ass of yourself. And like,
this is one of the reasons why I can't follow a lot of fitness-related content anymore, because
he's a great athlete too. He's like an incredible athlete, but he's a fucking prick.
Yeah, the obnoxiousness of a lot of these content creators, it can actually start to wear on your nerves and turn you off. So it kind of turns your passion into a little bit of a hatred. So I find the less that I immerse myself into other fitness content, the more that I can keep my own brain fresh and not be too derivative of what everybody else is doing. Because before,
or too caught up in hating everybody for sucking and misleading.
Worse. Yeah,
like
because I used to be the most negative prick in some of these comment sections. I think the funny thing is, we even got into it a few times and ended up blocking me because I was just being so obnoxious and a prick. I just
which I have like, no recollection of, but whatever.
What's the fucking point of doing that? Even when people post negative comments in my comment sections, if they leave a respectful comment and then talk about, you know, they say, "Oh, what about this and what about this?" But if they just come and say, "Jamie's a fuckhead and he doesn't know what he's talking about," I can't abide that, because it's just, you're not actually adding to the conversation. But if they said Jamie's a fuckhead and then provided a ton of proof, well, then we could build from that, you know. So
and I'll eat it. You guys know I will fucking eat it when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, and so this guy Lord BSN knows what I'm talking about. Put that up on the screen there. Yeah, this guy, and people keep sending him to me, and I'm like, I mean, I've been trying very desperately to like. And as I'm getting these knots, like I'm starting to get a muscular neck because I'm getting all these knots out of my face and my neck. And I'm literally promising my body as I'm doing this, like, I will not get in any more fights. I will not get in. And then I see a video of this guy and I'm like, oh, God damn, these guys are making it real fucking hard. Like you don't go to the gym to fucking brawl. I mean, every now and again you'll see a scuffle, but it's usually over stupid shit. This guy needs to be hung from the rafters. Like, by his own gym shoes. Like, what is happening? Like, it's
a different generation, I think. But we'll just get back to Milkman's question, because it is a good one, and it kind of just segues into the end of our discussion on golden era nutrition, because this in the 1980s is when things turned upside down on its head, because you went from high fat to high protein to all of a sudden as low fat as they could get it, and it was high protein.
I'm imagining having tied this guy's shoelaces together, because sometimes he wears these dumbass atomic shoes, and just tossing his fucking ass over the scaffolding, so his feet are stuck in his big puffy fucking stupid ass shoes. He's just hanging there trying to do sit-ups to get himself down. That's a good time.
Why do you think in the 1980s the nutrition that was used by bodybuilders kind of veered so wildly in a different direction? So you had almost as low fat as you could get, higher protein, and even higher carbs. So why did they abandon their original roots?
There was the mainstream press was picking up a lot of stories about the low fat diets. I don't remember the exact details because I didn't prep that for this, but low fat diets were very, very in vogue. That and jogging became very, very popular in the 70s. There were various people who were like proselytizing them, and it was a big thing. Like, let's get in shape, because everybody was like, we had a lot of new time for recreation in the 70s and 60s, and like people didn't know how to spend it, and they were like, well, you can exercise, and so let's all get in shape. And because people had kind of, as they moved into the suburbs, had gotten away from like doing that sort of thing. So yeah.
So you had the
but again, it's an industry, and guys who lift wanted to be able to lift and do that as a job, and so they had to find a way to pay the bills. And so, you know, whereas I found a way of giving people information, they started a gym or they, started a supplement company because they had to pay the fucking bills. And they were giving people stuff they ostensibly wanted anyway, except that they didn't know that they didn't need it. So, and then got convinced they had to have it.
Yeah, so I think the early 1970s was the peak of the high-fat, high-protein craze because you had the emergence of the Atkins diet, which made a splash there for a while. But then all of a sudden, the media, like you were saying, all of a sudden started propagating the high-fat equals obesity and cholesterol problems. So then people basically nutritionally did a 180 and sort of said you need to eliminate as much fat from your diets. I think bodybuilders are also, because they were using more steroids by then, they were getting better nutrient partitioning, particularly if they ate carbohydrates. It was filling them out a lot more, and they were finding that they could gain, muscle size easier and look better on contest day. Because the problem with some of the earlier physiques is when they went on stage just using high fat and high protein, they looked quite flat until they worked out, oh, we can add a bit of carbs in every few days, or just 60 to 100 grams of carbs per day was the general recommendation, but just still keeping you in ketosis basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sergio and those guys were all eating McDonald's like at the competition. So, but again, McDonald's back then serving sizes were much smaller, and so they could have a Coke because it was 7 fucking ounces. Imagine somebody giving you a 7-ounce soda. I would be offended by a 7-ounce soda. But yeah, like a small fries and a 7-ounce soda. Who the fuck is doing that?
Yeah, if you buy a can of soda,
that's all Sergio Oliva needed to eat, which means that's more than you need to eat probably.
Plus, he was working in a foundry swinging a heavy sledgehammer all day, in 60-degree heat, so he could afford to.
Yeah, yeah.
So the low-fat diet, is it sustainable for weight loss? Well, I guess it just comes in terms of calories at the end of the day. If you eat 1,200 calories of, high carbs and low protein, you're going to be hungry as shit, but you're going to lose fat and weight still, I think. What's your thoughts on that?
The thing is, you don't really need to pay attention to that shit too much. The problem is eating too much sugar at the end of the day. The problem with cholesterol is not cholesterol. It is cholesterol combined with sugar. That's where the heart attacks and the arteriosclerosis come in. There was a whole book written about it. It was fucking this thick. I don't remember the name of it. It was white, though. If that helps you, it probably won't. But, yeah, so, so I've read all the research on this shit. But then, again, you just look at these old school guys, and this shit was not necessary. It's the portion sizes are fucking huge now. We're eating too much, and we exercise insanely little compared to them. And I mean, so even when you look at their exercise routines were way heavier than ours were, and they were doing rounds rather than sets and reps back in the 50s, and like right up until 65, they were, instead of doing sets and reps, like 3 sets of 5, they were doing every exercise 1 set to failure, and then taking a rest, and then going back through all the exercises. That way you made sure you never fucking missed anything. And then when you specialized on something, you'd already gotten all this shit out of the way. Because back then, people didn't want to eat their dessert first. They were men or women with dignity and self-respect. And they fucking ate their meat first, and then they ate their veggies next. And then they fucking ate their potatoes. And then they ate dessert after that, once they were full. So, you have to do the same thing with lifting. And we got away from that because we were like, oh, well, if you diet on the right desserts, and if you do these right lifts that are the desserts, as I'm saying in this metaphor, you can still achieve these results. You just have to take all of these drugs. And then you can sit on your fucking ass all day long or lay in a bed in Dubai just hooked to fucking IVs. I don't know if that's what it is actually like, but that's what I imagine.
What do you think of the low-fat, high-carb is better than high-fat, low-carb? Or do you think it comes down to preference and your own response to that?
But yeah, it has to be preference in your own response, because I think, don't you follow it? No, you do follow the Apex Predator diet, and it helps you a lot. Because especially with certain neurological and nerve conditions, it really can help. Ketosis can be a very, very helpful thing.
Yeah, for example, I've battled autoimmune problems all my life. I had really bad fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue in my early days. And if I veer too much off my ketogenic diet or the carnivore diet, I basically head right back into that territory, as I've discussed over the last few weeks with you off camera. So I've got to definitely, for my body type at least, have high fat and a high protein. But yeah, some people respond well to high carbs. So yeah,
So
it's just
Game of Iron. Every time I've had a woman diet on a keto diet, they have had basically what the like a crazy impact on their hormones. Keto diets are not for women, in my experience, but you found so I don't think an extreme diet in either way is a good idea. It's that has she had that experience?
She was saying that when she went low fat, higher carb, higher protein, that
Yeah, but I think
impacted.
extremes either way probably are bad. Again, you just keep it in the middle. You don't gotta go with all this fucking craziness. You can just eat like a human being.
Plus, I think what Game of Iron was talking about there, she was doing a contest diet where she was on extremely low calories. So I think, again, that extremely low calories is going to impact your hormones more than just the composition of the macronutrients.
It would be interesting. I don't know what Carla Dunlap's diet was like, or Pillow's diet. I hope to someday interview Pillow, because she was shredded and she was natty and like she's weird as hell. So that'd be fun. But to find out how she diets, I think would be fun. Yeah. But like the women back then, I don't think they had. Well, nobody had a diet that extreme, and even when they did, it was 4 weeks. It wasn't this fucking tortuous 12-month fucking craziness that people do now. 4 to 6 weeks, you diet on 800 calories and call it a goddamn day, because you were running 20 miles a day, which is something people don't do.
And plus, like you said, they were stacked on amphetamines back then. And when you take that shit, you don't even want to think about eating.
There you go. See, but it's just, you got to tinker with your macros. But it's, again, I don't find that following your macros assiduously helps in any way, shape, or form. I really think that, like, if you just look at the people who achieve a certain physique without specific effort, like the stews that I have found that like get people fucking strong and ripped and all that shit, you just find that it's like, it's a mix of fats and carbs and proteins, and it doesn't have to be the same thing every day, but just don't keep the pedal down in one direction way too long. It will fuck you up. And that is 100%. Yeah.
I was just going to say, that is 100% the key. And if I could take one sample from this podcast, it would be, don't pedal it down too long, because whether that's your bulking or cutting or going carnivore or whatever else, you need to continually mix it up and throw your body a curveball, because it does adapt to it. And I think,
and your brain.
Yeah. Yeah. And half of our, big point that you make in your grimoire book, your recipe book, is kind of like the pleasure response of actually eating good food, as opposed to eating like, tuna and water diet or something like that. Our body actually kind of like responds better if our brain's happy from eating good food.
Yeah, well, actually, it's not just your brain. So if you eat foods that are like calorically dense and they have like a satisfying mouthfeel and everything, that affects your vagus nerve, which is like, it affects most of the shit in your body. And it's attached between your tongue and your intestines. And if you keep that thing happy, you will be happy. And if you make it sad, you will be sad. Like if you lose your sense of taste, you will become incredibly depressed. It is very well documented. And so, yeah, like what you were saying is absolutely the case. That like you really need that. Like you need good mouthfeel. You need good flavor. You need fats in there in order to carry the flavor. Fats are important. Butter is amazing.
What is amazing?
Butter.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. That's we get some good.
Did you guys have I can't believe it's not butter spray in Australia?
We never really had that. And I noticed I always tried to search for that early on in my weight training career. But, obviously we have fantastic butter here, and we also get great butter from New Zealand with all our cows. So I don't think you can kind of beat our butter formulations. I think Australia's food supply is pretty good. When I go to America, I find it very hard to stomach your guys' food. Like it's a little bit more tampered with than what ours is.
Oh, yeah. It's adulterated. But if you want good butter, Kerrygold butter. And there's also Pelma or something like that. It's a European butter. Both of those are really like, they're savory. They spread well. And sometimes like, because you read about these old time guys like Arthur Grimmick or Arthur Saxon and shit like that. They just ate buttered bread as a snack, and like buttered bread is the greatest fucking snack in the world. If you get good butter, like, and then you're like full, you're satisfied, you feel good, and you didn't really like eat a bunch of crap really, unless you're eating like Wonder Bread or some horrible shit. We get good bread.
On the rare occasion we ever go out to a really nice restaurant down here, they always bring out this amazing house bread with butter. And I will spend most of my meal just eating that because I love it so much. So
yeah, you get your meal to go. You're like, I just keep bringing the butter and the bread.
100%. The last topic we're going to talk about is Jamie did a series one time called The Baddest Motherfuckers. And it could have become its own book by itself. And I think you might have sprinkled some of these guys in your 365 book and your 12 Days of Axmas, etc. But Jamie basically had a list of some of the hardest, nuttiest, craziest guys that have kind of ever populated our sporting history. So we're going to talk. I asked Jamie if he could chisel it down to his favorite 3 or some of his top 3 baddest motherfuckers. So are you?
I'm ready.
Yeah. How about this first one here? Because I didn't even know her before you told me about her.
Yet nobody knows about her. There needs to be fucking statues of this woman all over the place. Her name is Babe Didrikson. She's in my book, Bite Size History. And this woman is a goat of fucking goats. As you can see there, she's buff. She wasn't like a huge jacked lady, but she also, I think she was competing in like I don't remember what the time. Well, I can look. Where the hell did I put her fucking? She was in the 1932 Olympic Games. So, and she kicked ass in the 1932 Olympic Games as a track and field star. But she was a track and field athlete who competed in a team event where she competed by herself, and she beat the second place team that had 22 players on its team. She trashed them. They had 22 points, one for each one of their players, and she had 30 points at the end. Like, this woman was a badass in track and field, but she didn't stop there. She was married to a pro wrestler who was great at wrestling, so she would go on vaudeville and shit wrestling men and women. She was also a badass boxer. So she challenged the greatest woman boxer, flyweight at the time, to a boxing match, and that woman ducked her for a long time. They never actually fought because she was bigger. She was 5'7" and 126, and I think Barbara Buttrick was like 105 or something. But the thing was, this woman wasn't a boxer. She wasn't a track and field athlete. She was, however, a baseball player. She struck out Major League Baseball playing male baseball players in exhibition games, playing for a Christian cult barnstorming team that they had a bunch of Negro League players. So it was women and Negro League players who invented like the style of baseball, or they invented a style of baseball that was then adapted to basketball for the Harlem Globetrotters. But they would embarrass pro baseball teams while playing like the Harlem Globetrotters. And so she was a pitcher for this team. But that wasn't her sport either. She was a pro golfer. She is the best pro golfer of all time, best female pro golfer of all time. And the only reason she isn't like abusively the greatest pro golfer of all time is she had cancer, and she had colon cancer. She played her last and won her last PGA tour with a colostomy bag on. This lady was gangster as fucking hell, and the best female boxer on the planet ducked her. So this woman has to be burned in everybody's memory.
That's incredible. I've never heard that story before. So yeah, great story. Yeah. Does she have any weird peculiarities of nature or character or personality? Half of these people that are really gifted tend to have some eccentricities that also accompany their greatness.
I didn't really find. I mean, she was married to a wrestler, and they were kind of like a carnival circus show act as a couple, but they were actually like a loving couple. Like, they loved each other. And so it was one of the few like ultra positive stories of a strength athlete.
Yeah, they should make a film of it. Interesting. How about this next guy?
So Wesley Williams is, I don't think that's Wesley Williams. That's a boxer who trained Wesley Williams.
Oh,
Wesley Williams was the dude sitting on the fire truck in the article I sent you. So Wesley Williams was the New York Fire Department's first black officer. He, I guess maybe they had non-officers before. I don't really know the story, but the thing is, he was he lived from 1897 to 1984. So he lived a crazy long time as a black person. I mean, this is Methuselah for this time. People didn't live that long, period. And if you were black, your life expectancy was like halved. So he lived a crazy long time. He was 5'9", 190 pounds. He could do a bench press with 200 pounds, which was the national record, like the published national record at the time. Apparently, people did more at the time, but like it was published in the Sporting News as the American record. He also clean and jerked 350 pounds when the record was 250. So this dude was crazy strong. And then he was taught how to do he was awesome at basketball. He was awesome at ice skating. And then he learned catch wrestling from some people at the Harlem Y, and he learned boxing from 4 or 5 like all-time greatest goats, but they were unsung because they were like colored boxers. But they trained him how to fight because when he went into the fire department, he had to fight every fucking day because racism was rampant, and people would just square up with him. Other firefighters like get off this roof and bomb and just start punching the shit out of him. So he would just go to like some non-burning part of the building, beat the fucking brakes off the dude or many guys. Like the first day he showed up and he had to fight everybody at the fucking fire department, beat the fuck out of all of them. And then he just lumped them up and he had to keep beating them down every day. So like Joe G. Net and these Panama Al Brown and these other guys, they were all different size fighters who had very different styles, but they taught him all of their tricks. So he fucked up everybody. And in the picture that I sent you here, I don't know if you can save it.
Is that the picture of him here? Can you see this one here?
Oh yeah, that is him. Yeah, because so Earl Lederman he's a totally unknown guy now, but he was the only guy who was publishing pictures of black guys, and he would regularly make them his national champions of physique competitions. And so there he is. Yeah, he was fucking yoked up, and people don't know, but he was known as the Negro Hercules. So he was the son of the guy who ran the Red Caps at Central. It was like a big train station. He ran the ushers for them, the bellhops, who would take everybody's bags everywhere. So he's best friends with like 4 different presidents and all these like famous people. But instead of his son, instead of going into these cushy nepo jobs that his dad might have gotten him, decided to fight every fucking firefighter in New York every day of his life. So like tip of the cap to that guy. He was a fucking badass. And it's insane how long he lived.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. And our final guy here is not for our baddest motherfuckers of all time list.
Yes, Kimura. I think it's Masahiko. I'm going off memory, but Kimura at the armbar that everybody knows now because of the UFC and stuff. The Gracies love it. The Gracies learned it from this guy, Masahiko Kimura. Who broke, I think, Helion Gracie's arm with it. One of the Gracies. The Gracies thought they were untouchable. This guy was a judo player, went over there, snapped his arm, came back over. Ha ha ha, fuck you. This guy was famous for the triple effort method, which was he was going to do 3 times as much effort as everybody else, and that ensured his victory. And I followed this motherfucker because I learned about him through Bruce Lee. And because Bruce Lee was big into him, Masoyama used to train with him. They were best friends, and Masoyama learned weightlifting from this guy. He was a bad motherfucker. Yeah. So, and he fucked up everybody back in the day. So him and Masoyama as a team must have been a fucking terror back in the day. And they had another friend who was such a fucking badass. He decided to like while out in a restaurant filled with Yakuza guys and ended up, he didn't survive that. But he was such a bad man. He was like, fuck the Yakuza. And he ended up getting killed. But still, bad motherfucker.
What's a common thread that you notice between all these guys? Is it their, indomitable spirit, so to speak, or just their devotion to their training and volume?
They weren't specialists. These people were interesting. They didn't stay in their fucking house and do nothing but train, which is what people think they're supposed to do. Like pull their hoodie up and like be miserable and get on a stair mill And Tom Platz has been making fun of everybody for fucking 2 decades about it. Like, and he said in an interview, like, I wouldn't even do bodybuilding if to do it like you guys. You're fucking ridiculous. And like, it's supposed to be fun, and also you're supposed to be out like exercising with other people and doing actual exercise, jogging, and doing all of the shit that hurts. Everything that hurts is something you should be doing. You should just be doing it with less weight and improving your range of motion.
Yeah, I think so as well.
I like Steve Reeves. What do you think about Steve Reeves? He wasn't the best bodybuilder. He was the pageant winner. Eric Peterson was the most muscular winner. He had a far better physique in my mind.
Bodybuilding comes a lot down to popularity and marketability. You know, it wasn't always the best physiques which always won. It was the person that looks best on the magazines, or that could always also sell supplements or sell bodybuilding. Because like we said, Arnold was never always the best bodybuilder, but he was the best at selling it. I think Steve Reeves was that in that case as well, because he had the image of the movies behind him as well.
Like, among other things. But like, he was at least a car thief at that time. I mean, the casual aplomb with which he was just like, well, I got to go to the Mr. America. Let's steal a car. We got to be there next week. Like, that's crazy. Number one, he was ready to go, and he was just like, all right, so we're stealing a car to go to the Mr. America. Like, the whole thing's amazing. And also, he really, like, he had that blonde Adonis look, so I just preferred him over Steve Reeves personally.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really lacking from bodybuilding these days is not only the personalities, but just those little interesting stories. None of these guys and girls ever seem to take any risks of character anymore. They seem so locked into what they show and present to the outside world.
or they're the Von Mogers.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, he never won a bodybuilding contest besides Mr. Universe, I guess, but he was also one of the most popular and continues to be so, simply because he's got more of a compelling backstory than a lot of the others. Like, you could have, say, Phil Heath, 7-time Mr. Olympia, but maybe no one's going to remember Phil Heath in, say, 50 years because he was just one of those anonymous show up and win kind of guys.
Yeah, Callum Von Mogers, like, figured out how to do the Rocky sequels, like, but in real life. Like, he's just like a... Was that weed? Oh, hamburgers. Ooh. Thank you. So yeah,
McDonald's, you can't have an double hamburger without hamburgers.
Who are the trend?
Again, so yeah, like exactly. Like if I ask Jamie who the trend twins are, a lot of these people are so peripheral to my interest. I could not even give a shit about them. Like I couldn't even watch any of their content. It's like Sam Sulek. Obviously, everybody knows of the name and knows of who he looks like, but you couldn't put a gun to my head and make me watch a Sam Sulek video because I just can't do it. I can't force myself to waste my time involving myself in these fucking so-called popular names that are just nobodies to me. How do you feel about that?
I had such bad acne growing up that I would not look myself in the mirror. And it's the reason why I wouldn't do videos, and I resisted it for the longest time. I don't like looking at myself at all, and it's just a reflex from having such bad acne. And I never would have put myself out there like he does, but I don't know. Why is everybody cheering these people on to death? It doesn't make any sense.
As he drinks a Coke and eats a hamburger, but the irony.
It's Diet Coke, motherfucker.
Do we have any more questions or comments? If not, I think that's almost a good part to wrap up today. But we really want to thank everybody that chipped in with their questions, comments, and also those really extremely kind donations from the Milkman, VT.
Yo, thank you. Thank you, guys. And thank you for coming through, like, and interacting with us. I really love the interaction. So, like, on my Instagram, @PlagueOfStrength, like, come in there, like, DM me. Like, you can ask anybody who's ever DM me. Like, I answer my DMs. That's why Sean and I are friends. Like, I answer my DMs and I respond to my comments, and I really like interacting with people. So
yeah, that's my whole favorite aspect of the content creation game as well, is meeting all these wonderful people, not only in the audience, but people like yourself. Because, you know, if I'd never started the channel, we probably would have never connected. I would have just been a fan. But the people that, you know, me and you are very rare in that we try to respond to as many of the comments and the questions in our social media as possible. Where a lot of these big names, they're probably not even run.
Oh, yo, thank you, dude. That's so nice of you.
Man, you're awesome. Thanks so much, man. But a lot of these big names, they won't even address their comments, and they're probably not even running their own social media pages at the end of the day. Yet they have these huge followings, which is always kind of quite, I don't know, why would you contribute a comment to someone's social media if they're not even going to talk about it in the, you know, or address it in any way?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just golden era nutrition, knowing how to starve. But you know what? That's a thing. And that's when I recommended that book by Sharman Russell. And I'm going to write it in here.
It's a good point, because when I was doing the research, one of the big names of the golden era said the most important thing you need to know when you're dieting for a contest is the concept of suffering. So to them, it was all about doing whatever it was that was the most painful to get the results.
I genuinely don't. Like, I don't even know how Mike Metzer is still happening. How is that happening? Why is it still happening? I mean, like, all I have to do is just keep going, Gunnar Rosbo, like Lance Dreyer. Just look at those two and shut up about Mike Metzer. Why are we still talking? Not again, and this is nothing against you. I'm just like, what the fuck are we talking? Like, and why aren't we talking about those two guys basically exclusively? Because there is no bodybuilder that is better than them. If you're just looking at pure physique.
My whole theory behind the repopularization of Mike Mentzer is that people are looking for the shortest, quickest way out of so-called training results. You know, so if they're only like training 2 or 3 times a week at 40 minutes at a time, just like Mike Mentzer did, then they think that that's the shortcut or the route to success, when it's not the case. Because Mike Mentzer, Dorian Yates, and all those other guys started off with traditional training to build their foundations, and then they saw the gimmicky marketing opportunity that HIT offers, and they jumped on it.
Yeah, and it's just people don't want to exercise. And I'm so glad that you're doing broomstick twists. Don't you feel better? Like my back feels better. My hips are loosening up. I can turn in weird directions. I didn't even know I genuinely did not know I had directions like I do. I was really like, I couldn't turn my head or anything. It was a mess. So I'm really excited that I've like developed rotational skills. What is pseudoscience? The Sharky
pseudoscience is HIT. Yeah.
Oh God, VT got got intestinal inflammation from bulk stuffing. Yeah, it's like, but I don't know how we keep telling people and explaining it to them. We just have to keep spreading the information. So we'll get there.
It was always responsible for my autoimmune condition. I fully believe that as well, because I was bulking and stuffing myself so much that eventually my body just tapped out. And the amount of people I know that have got Crohn's that were heavily involved in, bulking in their early part of their career. Yeah, I think it's definitely not a good thing to do. But anything else there to add, Jamie, before we sign up for the day?
In terms of optimal training methods, let's talk about optimal training methods for 1 second.
Yep.
Lifting is a hobby. There is no optimal way to do a hobby. There is none. And this idea that you're going to concoct some magical potion of a lifting routine that is going to give you this physique, that is not how it works. It is the relentless and dogged, non-stop, all-day pursuit of your goal that is going to get you there. Whether it's push-ups, whether it's posing, whether it's calisthenics, whether it's stretching, all of these things together, then lifting, then running, then after all that shit, you can be like, all right, what does my diet look like? If all that shit has not gotten you where you want to be, then you can go, well, maybe my diet's fucked up. But if you've already been running 5 miles a day and doing 500 push-ups and doing 500 squats and then going to the gym and doing a bunch of shit that is not just arching your back really hard and doing a 3-inch bench press for 2 reps and calling it exercising, that's not exercising. So just like, this is a hobby and you are an artist. We are not scientists in a fucking lab in the gym. You're an artist. Your paintbrush is the weights. Your canvas is your body. And you are doing this as a reflection of your own inner self. So you express yourself through the majesty of the violence of lifting weights or the beauty of how you lift weights or whatever. But like, this is a physical symphony that you're doing, and there's no optimal way to do that because it's art, and there's no optimal way to do art, and art is never complete.
That's such a fantastic way to put it. Even the audience really loved that one.
Sweet.
And I couldn't have said it better myself. So I think we could even get like a reel out of that last little 2 minutes there. So
I hope so.
Just want to thank you for coming on again. Make sure you go and check out Jamie's Plague of Strength Instagram page. Check out his books. You've got to be one of the most prolific writers. I was thinking about your book collection. How many have you written? About over a dozen, right?
I have
Over
no
a dozen
idea.
books.
I've never counted them. I mean,
hundreds, maybe thousands of blog posts over the years. No, I don't think anybody has.
It's just under 3 million published words on my whatever that blog spot is or whatever, and then unpublished. There's another like 3 million words. So and then there's the books on top of that. So I have no idea. It's an insane amount that I've written. It's berserk.
Yeah. Jamie talks the talk, but he also walks the walks and available for coaching. So if you ever wanted his expertise to lead you through into, basically cut down the noise and lead you to a path that's going to lead you somewhere, check out his coaching services as well. Because
yeah, and I do consulting too. So yeah, if you want to do that, yeah. 100%. I mean, I can. I've tried fucking everything. So if you just want advice on like, I want to try this, I've probably tried it, and I can tell you whether it sucks or not.
Yeah, and it always helps crush the learning curve, because if you're trying to learn something, there's so much information around. If you can get like guys that can show you through on how to, get there the quickest, then it's worth its weight in gold at the end of the day. But thanks again for everybody for chipping in their questions, the comments, and their donations.
If I could impart one last little bit of knowledge, it's I just realized today that this place that I used to go on my lunch breaks when I lived in Ohio, I used to go there and tan, and I'd buy supplements. And I always thought it was hilarious that this guy had a massive safe in the back room and like some workout equipment. But I never asked him about it. I just knew he sold steroids out of it. Well, it turns out this place was like where all of these big name lifters in the 80s came from. And the dude there was like some famous fucking guy. And I was just using that place to like as a tanning place. But like, I've trained in all these crazy famous places, and I really recommend all you guys, like, if you can, and there are some like old school weird gyms in your area, go and look up those gyms. Go find those people, because I swear to God that when I have passed it up, I'll get a million questions after not going to the gym, and then it's closed. But I will, like, you never heard it until you pass it up, and then you're going to hear about it a million times after. So yeah, go out there. Meet some old heads. Go to train in some weird places. Use some mismatched plates. Like, it will make you feel like a real lifter, and you'll have fun with it. So
100%. Excellent. Thanks again for coming on today, Jamie. Really look forward to these each week, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate everybody for coming through in the comments, and thanks for watching the replays, and thanks for being like fans of us and watching this shit. I really appreciate it.
We love it. Yeah. Thanks again. Cheers, guys.
Yo,
bye.
Have a great one, guys.